Hey everybody, it's Strict 9 with Strict 9 GP, and I'm back with another episode of my Out of the Park 22 playthrough with the San Francisco Giants. We just finished the 2023 season, another disappointing 70 and 92 record, back-to-back 70 and 92 records. This team has been a challenge for me. I think I'm starting to figure some things out. Just starting to do a little bit more of a deep dive, which is what I'm going to do this episode, and got some good comments from my viewers. And I really think I've been going about it wrong with this team, and I'm hoping that I've got some wiggle room financially and with the farm system that we have and some of the prospects that we've got coming up, and I guess still a big enough budget with this market that I can maybe start piecing together some more competitive teams. But what I'm going to go through to start off, like I usually do with the end of season, we'll get into some of those details, but we're right at the free agency period right now. And before we go into some deliberations I'm going to have, I wanted to go through how the playoffs finished up for the league. I tell you, it was one of the better playoff seasons I've seen in the National League. I mean, every series went the distance until Atlanta got all the way to the World Series and really beat up on Cleveland. Cleveland wound up with the best record, tied with the Dodgers for the best record in baseball, but Dodgers went out early to the Braves, and Braves just kind of sailed into the title. And another thing I like to look at, just end of season awards. We'll start out with the Gold Gloves. We did have one positive. The only award we received this offseason or end of season was for Justice Sheffield. He got the Gold Glove at pitcher, so that's good. Relievers of the year went to Karinchak of Cleveland, who had a really good year as a closer, and Chapman, Aroldis Chapman for the Dodgers, who really taken all together, didn't get used a whole lot, not as much as he has been in the past, but had one of his best seasons at 35. He might be finishing up a Hall of Fame career here in this playthrough, just having really putting together a lot of good numbers overall. Won't look at the Silver Sluggers. Again, we didn't have any award winners there. Rookies of the Year, Luis Guerrero, a pitcher for Oakland. Pitchers don't get this. That's a topic for discussion. I noticed on the Out of the Park 22 forum earlier this week. Pitchers don't win this Rookie of the Year award too often. So good solid season from this guy at Oakland. In the National League, went to Toglia at, if I'm saying that right, with Colorado. Pretty slim choices in the National League. So slim that Ramos actually finished fourth in voting from San Francisco. And you can see what he put up. I mean, pretty anemic numbers, a negative WAR, below average in Ops Plus. I mean, not a great season. Francona won Manager of the Year in the American League. Dave Roberts again in the National League. He's won it twice in this playthrough. Two of the three seasons so far. His win-loss record's incredible. Cy Young went to Aaron Savelle, if I'm saying that right, for Cleveland. He led the league in ERA. He would not have been my first choice. I would have probably gone with Bieber, who had more strikeouts, a better whip, and led the league in wins above replacement. And by the way, it would have been his fourth straight Cy Young, counting real life in this playthrough. So I was kind of hoping to see that. In the National League, Corbin Burns was the unanimous choice. Almost got the Triple Crown. He also led in ERA, strikeouts, wins above replacement. Clevenger got some votes for us. I think he had a decent wins above replacement when all was said and done. I think he finished fifth, so that's good. Most Valuable Player Award, Jose Ramirez of Cleveland, who's now a free agent, just had a crazy good year. 8.3 wins above replacement, 172 ops plus, this is a good player, and I'm sure he's contract demand is $40 million. Don't know if he's going to get that in free agency, but you never know. He was unanimous choice, and then Albies almost unanimous for Atlanta. It was close between him and Acuna if you look at their numbers, but Albies had career year for him, I think, offensively, but just a good all-around player, man. Atlanta with just those two guys should be stacked for a while, and you got Austin Riley coming up, a lot of power from him. I think he's probably going to be playing first base for him. He has, in this 3 years of this playthrough now, he's got well over 100 home runs, so he's a really good player. And they've got DeGrom, who's out now for a few months. Atlanta's going to be a tough one to beat in the National League. Looking at arbitration, how it went for us, no big surprises. We didn't have to put out a lot of money. I think the biggest kind of surprise was Sheffield, $4.8 million. I know I've talked this guy up a lot, but his ratings are probably close to maxed out. I don't know if he's going to get much better, but he had a solid year. But I think it was solid because of a few factors I'm going to go into later, and the fact that he was in that comfortable fifth spot in rotation most of the year. So I'll take it. $4.8 million is definitely a good value for him if he puts those numbers up. But then where that leaves us, I mean, we didn't really re-sign too many guys. For instance, I did let Barrios go. I had one of my viewers commented, William Sampson, if I can use your name, he commented that would have been a good value for him. I think he was wanting $12 million a year when I asked for, started, talks to extend his contract. But I'm still on the fence about that in terms of, is he really going to be worth that going forward, considering his age? He kind of trailed off at the end of the year. But he's one of those guys, if he's still available late in free agency, and if I can get him maybe for half that, I might give it a shot. We do have Dustin May coming back next year for what it's worth. I'm hoping he'll be healthy enough to take over a spot in rotation. He was gone for most of the year. And we're left with a lot of money here for free agents. So we're in good shape, I think, financially. I may revisit that. But I wanted to, one other thing I wanted to mention too, because I think it's important. I was riding, for the most part, I think DeMonte may have been somebody. I hired him because I like his development and hitting ratings. They're almost maxed out. And his relationships with the team could be better, but the players who he needs to influence, he is influencing. But I kind of inherited the staff from that 2021 season, first season that was the default when you start out of the Part 22. And so I rode with it for first 2-3 years. Now I've started hiring my own staff. A couple guys, the scouting director, I'm paying him a little bit more money than anybody. Well, he's the top. He has the top salary on the staff, but this guy is legendary in scouting majors and international, outstanding in minors and amateurs. So I think that's going to help us for maybe getting some good trades, good trade value, and definitely going to help in the draft. And I'm hoping that he'll find some international guys here and there to build up our farm system. I also went with a new trainer who has some really good ratings, legendary in preventing arm injuries, but he's positive all the way around. A few of these other guys, DeMonte rolls off next year. I probably will take a look at him and upgrade at hitting, but I'm going to keep going with him this year because I think, I do think he's rated high enough that if we make some changes to the roster and the lineups, I think he might have an influence, so we'll see how that goes. But I wanted to really take a look at a couple of key things. And first thing is playing in San Francisco, and this is another one, Christian Wilson, a viewer of mine, he pointed this out in his comments, is one of the first times I really thought about it, and I should have thought about it already. But there is a pretty wicked park factor at play in San Francisco that you have to look at, that you have to really take into account. And I guess we'll just take a look at it right now to see, so you can see kind of what I'm talking about here. So if you look at the ballpark factors for this team, it's definitely going to benefit pitching, which is why Barrios and even even the rest of the starters really are having such a good time of it, I think. But look at this, taking 1.0 as the average, we're below average in overall against lefties, left-handed batters, right-handed batters. Home runs are way low for left-handed batters, and that's going to really show up when I take a look at some of the splits I'm going to take a look at later. So we're already, you take out triples, I guess there's some really deep corners there in that park. We're against it really, offensively, especially home runs from the left side. That's really crazy. I guess mainly because that right center, 421 feet, that alley there between right field and right center is pretty deep. So it really handicaps, your left-handed batters. Now, just to give you an idea, for instance, let's take a look at Philadelphia, who I know is a pretty good hitter's park. Average overall is a little down. Lefties, about average. But look at the home runs. I mean, you can expect above average home runs, both sides of the plate, really. Doubles, triples, everything else equal there. So that's kind of what I'm up against. And look at, center field, right center, the difference there between that park and San Francisco's park. So what that kind of means, if I go back to San Francisco's park, I think, and I've kind of been going this route already with I'm going to have to get back to San Francisco to see the park, but I've been kind of going that with Luciano, who I've been talking up a lot, is probably my best offensive prospect. He's a right-handed power bat, and I think that's what I need. He's not going to have much advantage, but you can see 740 to 590. He should be in a much better chance to hit home runs in that ballpark than a lefty power hitter, right? So that's one thing I really need to look at. And it really it really becomes obvious if I take a look at the way we played last year. And I'll take a look at it first from the team's stats. And it's something I didn't even really look at much this year, but it's glaring. So 71 and 91 was their Pythagorean expected. So not a whole lot of difference between actual win-loss totals and what we had. So we pretty much played to expectations. But look at the difference between our home and away records. We were 30 and 51 at home, 40 and 41 on the road. And that's way upside down. And the reason it's upside down is because of how I built this team. I mean, the two big free agents I went for, the big free agent and the big trade I made are both left-handed power hitters for the most part. I guess, you might see some doubles and, some other power out of Freeman in his prime, and now and go back to the lineups out of Devers. I mean, he's got good gap power, but they're not going to give me a whole lot based on those park factors. And again, it's going to show up when I look at the splits here, but that really was an eye-opener when I looked at that. I mean, you shouldn't be losing that much at home, for one thing, and it shouldn't be that big of a disadvantage between home and away. So I think, we're not a winning team by any stretch, but I think if I had worked on it a little bit harder, since we're fairly competitive on the road, just one game under 500, we could be in a lot better spot. Another thing that's glaring to me versus left-handed versus right-handed. Again, it's because of the players I think that I put my money into. 21 and 35 against lefties. You're not going to see as many left-handed starting pitchers as righties, so that's still a big enough of a sample size. I mean, that's a third of the schedule, right? That it makes a difference. But look at the difference here. Winning percentage 375 versus 462. So it's really telling me I've got to get some right-handed bats in here. And I've got to start focusing on other things other than, power hitters, because it's not a home run hitting park. I think it's going to help our pitchers, but it's not going to help our batters all that much. And going back to the lineups, just to show you what that looks like. So Devers, easily our best offensive player overall. He's gone now, but Whit Merrifield also had a decent season. But he's a little bit, he's a different type of hitter. He might even be a spray hitter if I'm remembering right. But here's Devers, 30 home runs, 41 doubles, slugging percentage 483, ops plus 120, so 809 OPS, pretty good. 3.7 wins above replacement. $20 million worth. I don't know. You can debate that, but for this team, he was definitely the offensive leader. But now let's take a look at the splits against lefties. Just 9 home runs, 223 average. You can kind of expect that, but it's a really big. Unfortunately, looking at his ratings, the guy's still well above average, ratings-wise, right? So he should be, I think. I would expect maybe 250 average, maybe a few more home runs, but I would expect him to be productive still. But up and down the line, man, we struggled against left-handed pitching because you got Wyatt, Devers, Bishop, Blankenhorn, Miyazaki, all left-handed batters. And Miyazaki was just terrible against left-handed pitchers. I mean, he's good defensively, but he was so bad against left-handed pitchers as to be a liability. Now, if I take a look at right-handed batters, it gets quite a bit better, especially for Devers. I mean, a 281 average, 21 home runs, 26 doubles, OPS of 853. So that definitely made a difference. Dubon seems to like righties and lefties. He hits well against both. Miyazaki, though, big difference for him. 270, a 721 ops. A little bit below average, but still really on the productive side. So I'm not really doing my lineups any favors right now with these predominantly left-handed batters. That's one thing. And then looking at the home and road is even worse. This is where, again, look at Devers at home. 227 average, 9 home runs, 33 RBIs, a 668 OPS, which puts him well below average in OPS plus. I mean, he's my top offensive player, and he's really put at a big disadvantage playing 79 games or having starting 74 at home. So that's something I got to really address. And look at it from the Luciano, by the way, 827 OPS. So that his ratings have even improved, but this guy's got to continue to get play time and develop, because he's going to be really key, I think, to turning this around. That's the kind of player I need. I need right-handed power, gap power, home run power. I think, I wish I had paid more attention to this a few seasons ago, but man, I just went out there and threw money, and shame on me, because it's glaring now to look at this. It's kind of weird though. So this is a split against, was that the road? No, that was home. Against right-handed batters, but Yeah, I'm making sure that I'm looking at it the right way, I think. Um, yeah, I'm sorry, I was looking at the lineups, but this is the way we looked at home, and then look how we look on the road. Guys like Joey Bart hitting better, but Devers, 296 hitter, 21 home runs, 59 RBIs, a 948 OPS. Um, OPS plus of 156, so it's even better. Dubon looks even better. Miyazaki, way better on the road. He's actually OPS plus of 100, so his production is way up there on the road. Luciano, a small sample size, is hard to tell. He's about even home and away, which again, looking at him at home, it makes me, well, no, he's a little bit better at home in a smaller sample size, but it makes me even more convinced that I need to get this guy developed. But that's, that is the big weakness. Left-handed power hitters are not going to fare well in this ballpark, so I got to keep that in mind with the in the off season. Now, I want to go back to some more of your comments too, because I'm kind of valuing what you guys are telling me right now. In terms of who I should look for now, Around the World Sports, again, if I can mention your name, Around the World Sports, by the way, give you a plug, has a YouTube channel, has some good content around sports management games. I've noticed he's doing some out of the park baseball series there. Check him out. But he's recommending I look for high power, high I guys. Looking for guys with high gap, high power, high I, with lower contact and discipline. Especially, I guess, right-handed batters. So that would be a plus, I'm sure. But he's got a good point. I need guys who are going to get on base. So I've got to stay away from, to Devers' credit, to the point here, his eye and discipline is low. He's not going to get that many walks. So that hurts him a little bit. Dubon, same way. I mean, his eyes and discipline is low. Luciano, however, it's getting up to about average, and that's from OSA. My scout has above average potential with eye and discipline. We already know he's got gap power and home run power above average. So, that's a good suggestion, I think. Not contact, not as big a deal. Power, gap power, able to draw some walks, I think is going to be a lot. You're going to see a lot better numbers in this ballpark. Another one from Christian Wilson. Is dead on. I got to prioritize righty batters over lefties, and he has a good suggestion really when it comes to pitchers. I can look at probably multiple types of pitchers here, but a fly ball pitcher, and let me see if I've got any, like Clevenger, for instance, only 20 home runs in 196 and 2/3 innings. That's below, 0.9 home runs per 9 innings. That's pretty good. That park is so deep. I can probably go out there and get some fly ball pitchers and not worry too much about home runs. So that's going to be good, I think, going into free agency and looking at some of the guys I'm trying to develop. Abram is extreme ground ball, but, I don't know if that's going to really matter too much. But I think I may try to pick up at least one more, maybe two good starters out there and see if there's some fly ball pitchers with some good ratings that I can go after. Because I don't know that I'll have to worry too much about home runs. But the key is filling this lineup with some more variety. Bats, primarily power, but also gap power and eye discipline so that they're drawing walks. And, of course, for me, I like to have some speed in there too, so that'd be an added plus. And if you look at where we're where we're really weak at, because we did let Merrifield go. He was getting up there in age. He plays really hard. I think his injury rating on the back end, I'm not in commissioner mode, I can't see it, but it's probably going to be low. I'm sorry, his injury rating is probably going to be high. I didn't want to gamble on him for a few more years. So I'm missing a second baseman. I'm missing really a right fielder. Ramos, he has, based on my scouts ratings, he has those things that we'd all be looking for, right? High power, gap power, eye and discipline, right about average. But I don't know if this guy's going to be able to start full time yet. I do like his ratings for my scout anyway against lefties, but he got a lot of playtime last year, and it really didn't help him. And if you look at his splits, which I think we already did, but versus lefties, not a big gap there between what he did versus left, what he did versus right. He got maybe I don't even say he got a few more walks. I mean, his slugging percentage was greater. Average, though, just 15 points higher. So not much difference there. As a starter, he was 200 hitter, 663 OPS. And then if you look at home and away, which is down here in the middle, he was a little bit better at home, 230 hitter. But I don't know. I think he's definitely going to get some look in the spring. But I would really like to go for somebody who can start, maybe even both corner positions. Because Bishop now, I'm really going to have to rethink him. He has power, but it's probably not going to help him much. One good thing is that he seems to hit lefties and righties about the same. He does have a good eye and discipline. I don't know if it's going to translate in this park. And his numbers when he came up last year were terrible. 36 OPS plus. That's terrible. I don't know if he's going to be reliable enough. Blankenhorn, a really kind of a weird situation with him because he's another left-handed hitter, but he just seemed to be able to perform well enough in that lineup, and he actually hit better at home than on the road. One of the few hitters who did. I may be stuck with him if I can't find a replacement, but man, he's not the kind of player who's going to fit that mold for us. He doesn't have a lot of eye and discipline's low, so he's not going to get too many walks. His power above average from my scout, but it's not translating because of where we're playing. Only 9 home runs for the year, so I wouldn't mind getting both corners, but I'm going to target a right fielder right out of the gate in free agency, and then a second baseman. I'm hoping I'll be able to pick up somebody in those two spots to help us out. If I look at the what I got coming up from AAA, and I've already gone through and did my roster moves to advanced, who needs advancing in the different levels. We're really struggling a little bit in infield. I guess Arteaga, who he's not going to be a power hitter, but he's definitely got some upsides coming off a good year at high A. I think this guy could be a starting shortstop of the future, but he's not going to really give us what I'm looking for right now. And Matos, a right-handed left fielder who may profile, the way I'm looking, but he's, 2 or 3 years away really from contributing full time. So I think I need to really look at that in free agency. So we're going to, I guess, finish out this episode by looking at what's available. And of course, Ramirez is the big guy out there right now. He would definitely be an upgrade over Devers, but I'm not going to touch that salary. I just feel it would leave us too thin with all the holes we got to fill. So, it's not looking good in free agency. If you go by the star ratings, at the top. Um, a lot of left-handed outfielders when they're showing up. Uh, Profar, Jerks and Profar is fragile. He's better against righties, so most of his production ratings are going to come against right-handed pitchers. He's a switch hitter, so from the left side of the plate. Miguel Sano, don't really need first or third, and man, he's won a lot of money. Ursula doesn't profile because he's not going to draw a lot of walks. Doesn't have the power I'm looking for. So wow, we're not seeing it right now in free agency, I gotta say. If I look just at second base, because that's where I gotta fill in first. I mean, you've got Profar again, Connor Falefa, who can play third and short equally, but man, he definitely doesn't profile to what I'm looking for. Wilmer Flores, an old giant who right now is still rated at first, but he doesn't draw many walks. Tommy La Stella, another old giant player who went to San Francisco, did pretty well for them. A left-handed batter. I need a right-handed batter. Jonathan Scoop doesn't have the eye and discipline, so man, you can see I'm really in trouble just looking at the free agents available right here. I mean, you go back to Merrifield, who's wanting quite a bit of money. You know, he doesn't have the eye and discipline. Last year, that kind of impacted him. You know, he hits for a high average. He's got some speed. He's got that gap power. I wish he would get on base a little bit more. What was his on base? You know, 791. On base of 325. So just not what I'm looking for. So it may be, in terms of infield help, we might have to be looking at some trades here. Hernandez, he does have good eye and discipline. His contact is not that great, but he's really good against left-handed pitchers. You know, he would be a possibility as, he's coming off a solid year, but he was really limited. I think he got injured in 2022. I'm not sure why he didn't get much play time at Minnesota. But you go back to his previous 2 years. I think he still is more of a utility type player. So he's not going to really be starting, I don't think, or the kind of starter that I need. Wow. Now, if I just look at you got Travis Shaw, but he bats left. You got Candelario, who is rated poorly at second. Man, not good at second. And now let's take a look at right fielders. You got Kepler, Nemo, Otani. I mean, they're all pretty much predominantly left-handed batters. Until you get down here to Kane, who is, I would think, getting towards the end of his productivity. He had a fairly poor season in Colorado last year. Garcia, who was with us last year, his numbers weren't that great. Man, there's just not much available. There's really not. Teoscar Hernandez, a good defensive right fielder. He's going to strike out a lot, but he's got good speed and good power. Oh, but there's a big discrepancy. Even though I trust my scout a little bit more, his ratings aren't that great. Will Myers, He lacks drive. Oh, I hate when you have. It's like I finally get a plan, and then you come to the free agency, and it's just kind of wiped away because there's nobody available to fit the plan. So we're early in free agency. We're early in the off season. A lot of times you don't really see, and typically I trade based on trading block, what's available, how I shop a player. I don't really try to get too deep into manufacturing trades, but it might be something I have to do this off season. But if I look at the trading block and just to look at what's available at right, not much. Yastrzemski, who is coming off some pretty lackluster years there in Cincinnati, and Chris Taylor, who's making $9 million. Another kind of, at this point in his career, another kind of utility type player, valuable, but not what we're looking for. Let's say all outfielders, doesn't really make a difference. And second base, yeah, it's probably going to be. It's going to be when we get to the winter meetings, which we're at November 30th, so we're a few days away from that before we get anybody available there. So I'm going to have to, I think, ride it a little bit forward because the free agents aren't there right now. I want to at least see what's going to come available when the winter meetings hit. So let's move to pitching because I still think we're definitely going to have some holes here. I think Abram developed nicely, or at least he showed some positives. Clevenger is obviously going to be in the mix, probably our best starter. I think Webb and Sheffield are rounded out, at least for one more year. But now I'm kind of, I'm kind of limited. I don't know if Santos is really ready or if he's going to be valuable as a starter. So I think, another starting pitcher would be nice to have. And let's see what we got out there. We got Flaherty, $30 million. The thing is, I am not going to put the money that I put into it previously. I'm not going to sign Trevor Bauer again. So I'm going to look for, just looking at starters, for instance, Darvish, no. Sonny Gray, a ground ball pitcher. I think he could still be valuable for this team. Lamet, he's won a lot of money. Syndergaard, fragile. He's had some troubles there in Boston after he left us. I'm looking at that sweet spot though of under 10 million. That's pretty good. I mean, I would want something like that. If I look at how much, oh boy, he's won a long-term contract. At 34, I don't know that that's going to be justified. He's coming off a terrible year with the Yankees. I'm not really seeing a whole lot there. So if I look at the trades, nobody comes up except Nola. And his ratings are really taking a dive right now. Stuff, movement. I don't think he's really good enough to, certainly not going to be an anchor of a rotation. So it's like I've got the plan in place, just from, doing the deep dive I did, and then from all you guys that give me the comments. But we just don't have the players to make it happen right now. So we're going to be challenged again, I think. But that's what I'm going to spend this offseason doing. I'm looking for one more starting pitcher. Relievers probably wouldn't be that bad to look at relievers. I mean, our bullpen ERA was low. I mean, we struggled mainly because of the guys that we signed last year, Presley and Trinan. They really stunk it up. But I just think that's an anomaly from both of those guys. I think they're going to bounce back a little bit next year. One thing I didn't mention too, we've got Schmidt, who I think could potentially start. I mean, this is his ratings as a reliever. If I put him at starting pitcher, he's 3-star potential. I think he's got a chance to make the rotation if I can't find a free agent. And you look at what he did as a starter last year, it was really good, serviceable anyway. 3.40 ERA, whip was okay. I think he might be able to round out that rotation if I can't get another guy, but I really think I need another guy. But, I need to get the offense. I need to get that situation settled first. But that's what I'm going to do offline. I'm going to go through the off season, get us back either to spring. I'll probably come back at spring training to let you know how the off season went. But I appreciate the comments and, to support you guys, get my channel. And hopefully, this is the kind of thing. This usually, when I get to a situation like this, when it's like a roadblock, I don't know if you guys if you had a chance to see my playthrough I did with the Draft Day Sports College Basketball. That was a really hard game to figure out for me. It was a hard game to figure out how to win, how to build a winning team. And I love those kind of challenges. So this is one of those things I usually play like the Phillies and a few other teams when I get out of the park baseball when the new versions come out. But I really want to turn this one around. I think it's just a great challenge. It's way more of a challenge than I thought it was going to be. And I'm really going to stick with it, and I hope you do too. So, again, thanks for the support, and I will see you next episode.